said that tower number 1 is on fire. The whole outside of the building was just a huge explosion. Tree truck to Manhattan. Civilian reports from up here, a plane just crashed into the World Trade Center for your information.
Forever etched in our minds, the desperate sounds and images of September the 11th, 2001. New York and the Manhattan skyline, for years a symbol of hope and new beginnings. This seemingly invincible city made vulnerable.
Send every available ambulance, everything you got, to the World Trade Center now.
I'm going to meet two ex-policemen, Gary and Mike. They're both first respondents at 9/11. And like a lot of people who spent some time at that rescue effort, they now have some very serious illnesses related to their time there. It seems to me there's a lot of people going to look at a very large hole in the ground, but not a lot of people are talking about the people that are dying several years on.
Mike. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you too. Thanks for coming.
Guys
down.
like Mike and Gary spent months at Ground Zero, initially in a desperate search for survivors. Then months sifting through the debris, looking for clues to this horrendous crime. I met Mike and Gary in a sunny churchyard that was once in the shadow of the Twin Towers. It was a place of solace in the days and weeks after the attacks. These two men very rarely come to the site and find being here many years on extremely difficult.
It's the country's deep, dark, dirty secret. It's the city's deep, dark, dirty secret. It's as if I hear all this time, let's forget about it, let's move on. No, we're not going to forget about it. We're not going to move on. Would you tell that to a World War II veteran? You say it to a Korean veteran or a Vietnam veteran? You can't.
While firefighters received compensation, thousands of New York City police are unable to work and are having to survive on very little money. Mike was one of the lucky few to retire on full pension, but he's determined to fight for his fellow servicemen, starting the Police Aid Foundation. They're fighting to prove that the illnesses are related to time spent at Ground Zero.
There's another misunderstanding that, well, you should have gotten sick right away. That's not the case. Most of us started getting the residual effects in 2003. That's when the hack started, the nasal drip, the post-traumatic stress disorder. And with post-traumatic stress disorder, you're not laying in bed, with your gun in your hand thinking, oh my God, the towers are gonna come down. You become antisocial. You lose interest in things. Your personal hygiene takes a turn for the worst. You don't interact well with people. I didn't come out of my bedroom for 3 weeks straight one time.
The pain is still raw and the events of that day are etched in their minds.
I got here that night, and I don't think I left for about 4 weeks.
Can anybody hear me? I'm a civilian. I'm trapped inside of one of your fire trucks underneath. The collapse that just happened. Stand by, there's people close to you.
When I got up to the scene, actually, the most serious thing I can't get out of my head is the hundreds of locator beacons that were on the firemen going off, and they were in the pile. And to this very day, I can't forget that. It's just, I'm sorry, but it's burned into my memory. And that's a sound I'll never forget. And then looking down, Gino and I was, while we were digging, the body and the human parts really bothered me. What bothered me was, the pictures of the children with their parents and knowing that, they're probably gone. And that's my nightmare every night.
Since it was mayhem, there was no semblance of order whatsoever, and it was kind of an apocalyptic type of feeling. Everything was black, everything was dark.
That blackness was toxic dust and it took months to settle. And it permeated everything, skin, lungs, the bloodstream, causing debilitating and lingering illnesses that are still being identified today.
People would make trays of food and bring them down here and leave them, and then some of the volunteers and the firefighters and cops would open it up. Once they took that first spoonful, that was all contaminated. I remember telling a firefighter from Pennsylvania, you really can't be eating that. He goes, I'm starving. I go, that could be your last meal. because huge particles of fiberglass, glass, dust, concrete, human remains were flying everywhere.
I can't breathe much longer. Please save me. I'm in a can't be a truck. Hey, person transmitting the mayday. I just told you. If you look at the World Trade Center, there's the North Pedestrian Bridge. I think it collapsed when that partial building just collapsed. I was on the street. I don't have much air. Please help me.
There was no equipment for us to dig. You know, so it was whatever we stole from the day before that we had on us, that was what we used. There was no masks. The masks didn't come till October. You know, I remember we were raiding Home Depots in Brooklyn and in here trying to get masks, paper masks for us to breathe. I wore an American bandana for 2 months around my face. And that's I guess my fault now, but you know, we were never taught to have respirators on and Scott packs.
Did you think about what effects this might have on your health at the time?
You don't want to sound John Wayne-ish, but I really didn't think about it. I should have, because I contracted a rash on my body my first day. I think it was about the 3rd or 4th week. I kind of got the sense that psychologically I was going to have an issue with this, but not for the time period I was there.
But I was there for 3 months, okay? For what? There was no recovery. It was just a pile of dust. The impact of those buildings coming down, there was nothing there. We were picking up human remains that were flattened, pulverized.
Thousands of first responders have had or continue to experience mental illness, respiratory disease, various cancers, and other illnesses related to their time at Ground Zero.
What are some of the things you're having to deal with still to this day?
I started binge drinking, and I went through an anger part, and I became cynical after a while. And it wasn't until I got out and I sought help that I realized, I was putting my family through hell. I mean, it was a living hell for my family and my kids, and I couldn't do that to them no more. So I sought help, and that's what we advocate now too for a lot of the first responders. We have guys that haven't left their houses in 4 or 5 years. Can you believe that?
No.
4 or 5 years, and not one person from the police department calls them.
2-4 and 1 member's out of the building. I got 2 members trapped. I can't tell the command post. 2 members trapped in the promenade.
2,750 people died on September 11th, 2001. But 700 people have died in the years since. It's estimated that up to 70,000 people may have long-term health problems due to the dust inhaled.
Over 3,000 police officers have put in for disabilities. Out of the 3,000, maybe 200 have gotten theirs. I'm one of them, have gotten disability. We already know what our fate is. That's pretty sad. We already know what we're gonna die of and how we're gonna die. Put yourself in our position, and we're not sitting here complaining about that. We know that. We just want them to give us what's due to us. That's it.
Congress has proposed a bill that will allocate $650 million for medical bills.
Dispatch, urgent. People trapped 5 World Trade on the 80th floor. 3 World...
It might ease the symptoms, but it will never restore the physical or emotional well-being.
The recall chief coming in. Listen, I have about 15 people down in 4 and 15 right now. Call them on the voice alarm. Tell them, send them over to where you want them on that side. Also, if you can release 14 engines, have them take a shoulder and go up and pick up the spare apparatus. That was our original plan, Kate.
10-4, 9, David. As soon as possible.